Assalamualaikum class. Today I am here, your course in charge for the CP lab 4th year, Dr. Hirav Shah. And today I am going to discuss the topic related to the acute renal failure or acute kidney injury. First of all, I am going to start with the introduction of the acute renal failure or the ARF or acute kidney injury, which is also known as AKI. It is characterized by an abrupt reduction, usually within a period of 48 hours, in the kidney function, which means that abrupt reduction in the kidney function is known as acute renal failure or acute kidney injury, which will result in an accumulation of the nitrogenous waste products and the other toxins in the blood or in the body, and the many patients become oligouric, which means that low urine output and with the subsequent salt and water retention in the body. And in patients with the pre-existing renal impairment, a rapid decline in the renal function would get occur, and it is termed as acute or chronic renal failure. So it means that if somebody has the pre-existing renal impairment or renal injury, then they will, if due to the any factor or the acute kidney injury or due to the acute kidney injury, a rapid decline will get occur in their renal function, and it will be termed as acute on chronic renal failure. So, what are the classification and causes of the AKI or the acute kidney injury? Basically, AKI is not a single disease state, and it has no uniform etiology or any uniform cause, but it is a consequence of a range of different diseases and conditions. As we have previously discussed, that the diabetes can lead to the target organ damage like the kidneys and the heart, and hypertension can also lead to the kidney damage. So the other diseases, so the AKI or acute kidney injury or the acute kidney failure basically will get occur as a consequence of a range of different diseases and conditions. And the most useful practical classification is of mainly of three groups or three types. Number one, pre-renal AKI, renal AKI, or post-renal AKI. So this is the classification of the classification chart of the acute kidney injury. And acute kidney injury is of three types: pre-renal, intrarenal including the ATN, acute tubular necrosis, and post-renal. And the pre-renal is commonly occurred in 40 to 80% of the cases, and due to the decrease renal perfusion or renal supply of the blood through the hypoperfusion or due to the any factor, and it is reversible, it is a reversible factor. Intrarenal or acute renal tubular necrosis occurs in 10 to 50% of the cases, and it is commonly occurred due to the renal parenchymal cells injury. And the post-renal occur in more than or in less than 10% of the cases, and urinary tract obstruction is mainly the cause of the post-renal disease. So this is the Rifle criteria for the definition and staging of the acute renal disease. Rifle stands for R for risk, I for injury, F for failure, L for loss, and last is end stage renal disease. And we have also classified as into two: glomerular filtration rate criteria and urine output criteria. In case of risk, if somebody has the increased creatinine, like it is increased 1.5 times, or the GFRS decreases more than 25%, and if the urine output is less than 0.5 ml per kg per hour in 6 hours, then they have the high sensitivity risk um, for the formation of the acute renal disease. And if injury is if somebody has acute renal injury or injury of the kidney has already been occurred, if somebody has the increased creatinine like 2 times increased and GFR is decreases to more than 50%, and urine output is less than 0.5 ml per kg in 12 hours, and failure has been occurred if the creatinine has been increased up to 3 times or GFR decreases more than 75%, and creatinine is greater than 4 mg per 100 ml, acute rise in 0.5 mg per 100 ml per deciliter, and the urine output has been decreased to 0.3 ml per kg per hour in around 24 hours, or anuria has been occurred or oligouria has been occurred, low urine output, then they have the high specificity for the acute renal failure. And loss of the function has been occurred if somebody has persistent acute renal failure or complete loss of the renal function in about 4 weeks. And end stage renal disease is the last stage in which the kidneys has already been stopped working, and it is known as the end stage renal disease. So what is the pre-renal AKI? If the perfusion of the kidneys at the level of the microvascular beds or the glomerular and the tubulointerstitial cells is usually maintained, the perfusion of the kidneys or the supply of the blood to the kidneys is usually maintained through the wide variations in pressure and flow through the high efficient autoregulatory pathways such as the renal angiotensin aldosterone system or RAS system and the regulated prostaglandin synthesis. These are the autoregulatory pathways which control the perfusion of the kidneys at the microvascular beds, and it is usually maintained by these systems such as the RAS system, renal angiotensin aldosterone system, and the regulated prostaglandin synthesis. However, if somebody has the systolic BP which drops below to 80 mm of Hg, then there is a chance of the acute kidney injury which may develop in that type of patient. And in case of the CKD, chronic kidney disease, and elderly, this may occur at the higher levels of the systolic BP. And the drugs that also inhibit the RAS or the ACE or the ARB, or the drugs which block the PG's production like the NSAIDs, can predispose to the development of the pre-renal AKI in those patients. And this is caused by the pre-renal acute injury is caused by the impaired perfusion of the kidneys with the blood due to the consequence of decreased intravascular volumes or the hypovolemia or the hypoperfusion or decreased intravascular pressures. Pre-renal failure leads to the decrease effective extracellular volume, and it will lead to the hypovolemia, then it will lead to the decreased cardiac output, and will lead to further complications like acute MI, cardiac failure, etc. And it also leads to a systemic dilation and then if somebody has a septicemia with the vascular bed dilation, then it will decrease the circulating volume of the blood, and also the altered renal vascular regulation will, and it will decrease the afferent arteriolar constriction, and after that it will lead to the efferent arteriolar dilation. The intrarenal acute kidney injury is the second type, and it is caused by a variety of causes. Most commonly, in more than 80% of the cases, are the acute tubular necrosis. ATN occurs usually as a consequence of a combination of factors including the hypotension, often in the setting of sepsis and nephrotoxic agents, including the drugs or chemical poisons, and the endogenous sources such as the myoglobin and the hemoglobin. And it is a diagnosis made by the renal biopsy, and the findings can include the damage to the proximal tubule and the ascending limb of loop of Henle, and interstitial edema, and infiltrating inflammatory cells, and severe and sustained hypoperfusion can lead to the ATN. So here are some causes of the ATN. You can see the chart: hypoperfusion, radio contrast media, sepsis, rhabdomyolysis, in which the damaged muscles release the myoglobin, which can cause the ATN, acute tubular necrosis, through the direct nephrotoxicity, and renal transplantation, hepatorenal syndrome, and some drugs like the nephrotoxins, and which are the nephrotoxins like the aminoglycosides and the amphotericin. These are the antibiotics which are nephrotoxic in nature. Here are some more drugs like the immunosuppressants, NSAIDs, and the cytotoxic chemotherapeutic agents, and some chemicals which are naturally occurring like the insecticides, herbicides, alkaloids, etc. The post-renal acute kidney injury is that type of AKI which results from the obstruction of the urinary tract by a variety of mechanisms, and any mechanical obstruction from the renal pelvis to the urethral orifice can cause the post-renal AKI, and the clinical manifestations include the signs and symptoms of the AKI are often non-specific, and the diagnosis can be founded by coexisting clinical conditions, uh, which means that the AKI has no particular symptom except that they have the low urine output, and we will diagnose it by specifying, by considering the coexisting clinical conditions which the patient has been experiencing since some time. And the patient may exhibit the signs and symptoms of volume depletion or overload, and depending upon the precipitating conditions, course of the disease and the prior treatment should also be considered. The factors of the AKI are history, if somebody has volume depletion or volume overload, and physical examination would be considered. In case of AKI, they must have the dry mucus and decreased skin elasticity, decreased blood pressure, ankle swelling and edema may occur, pulmonary crackles sound may occur. The diagnosis and clinical evaluation include the AKI is usually diagnosed incidentally by the detection of the increased serum creatinine especially, or the reduction in the urine output. In hospital situation, AKI is detected incidentally. The cause of the condition such as the fluid depletion, hypovolemia, infection, or the use of the nephrotoxic drug will be considered, and close examination of the clinical history would be observed, and the development of the AKI in this setting is more likely to occur in the people who have the pre-existing chronic kidney disease. And these are some monitoring key parameters which we have to monitor um, in acute kidney disease, like the serum electrolytes including the potassium, bicarbonate, calcium, phosphate, and acid base balance should be measured on daily basis. And in patients with the severe AKI, acid base balance may need assessing every few hours, as this may direct the fluid replacement and respiratory support and dialysis treatment to the patient. So here's the flow chart, in which first we will take the full history of the patient including their drug history, then the clinical examination including the fluid balance assessment, and then we will check the urine analysis report, and then the blood examination would be checked, and after that ultrasound scan of the renal tract is mandatory. Here is the first case related to the acute kidney injury or the acute renal failure, in which the Mrs. J, who is 60-year-old patient, she is a widow and she had long-standing hypertension that was unsatisfactorily controlled on a variety of agents. Her drug therapy include the furosemide, which is a loop diuretic, 40 mg once a day, amlodipine, which is also a calcium channel blocker, and 10 mg 10 mg daily, and a salt restricted diet. Following a routine review of her therapy, ramipril, which is an ACE inhibitor, 2.5 mg once daily was added to her treatment regimen in an attempt to improve her blood pressure control. And Mrs. J was recently diagnosed with the gastroenteritis, and a week after her diagnosis she presented to the local hospital in an emergency unit, and she has the ongoing diarrhea, and her BP was found to be 100 mg 100 by 60 mm of Hg, and serum biochemistry revealed that she has the creatinine level of 225 millimolar per liter, and the sodium is 125 millimolar per liter, and potassium is 5.2 millimolar per liter. My question is that what was the likely cause and underlying mechanism to this patient's problem, and what treatment should be given to this patient? My answers are my answers for those questions are here. Number one is ACE inhibitors reduce the angiotensin 2 production. As we all know that the ACE inhibitors reduce the angiotensin 2 production, thus it will slow down or attenuate the angiotensin 2 mediated vasoconstriction of the efferent arterioles. It will stop the vasoconstriction of the efferent arterioles. So basically we were talking about the ACE inhibitors, which reduce the angiotensin 2 production and which will attenuate or slows down the vasoconstriction, which is mediated by the angiotensin 2, and it will contribute to the high pressure gradient across the glomerulus of the kidney, which is necessary for filtration, and it is not usually a problem in the majority of individuals. However, in patients with pre-existing uh, compromised renal blood flow, such as the renal artery stenosis, in which the renal artery is blocked due to some factor, and the kidney relies more heavily on angiotensin mediated vasoconstriction of the postglomerular arteries to maintain the renal function. Hypovolemia caused, for example, by diuretic use and a diarrheal illness would tend to exacerbate this problem in this patient, as she has been having the diarrhea, and she is also taking the diuretic, which will lead to the uh, removal of the high volume gradient from her body, and it will lead to the hypovolemia, and it will exacerbate this problem. And moreover, it is likely that the sodium depletion would render the kidney even more dependent upon the vasoconstriction of the efferent arterioles through the activation of the tubuloglomerular feedback system, further sensitizing the kidney to the effects of the ACE inhibitors. And Mrs. J might well have been suffering from the incipient renal failure but remained asymptomatic until her renal reserve diminished. So the discussion regarding this question is here. And ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers in the acute kidney injury are not directly nephrotoxic, and they can be used in most patients with the kidney disease. However, profound hypotension can occur if they are initiated in susceptible patients, such as those who are receiving the high dose of the diuretics as well in her treatment, in his or her treatment for the fluid overload. This might result in the development of the prerenal AKI, and it is therefore wise to monitor the BP and carefully titrate the doses whilst monitoring the renal function in such patients. ACE inhibitors use is, however, absolutely contraindicated when a patient has bilateral renal artery stenosis or the renal artery stenosis in a patient with a single functioning kidney. If an ACE inhibitor or ARB is initiated under these circumstances with the prerenal AKI, uh, this may occur since the renin or the RAS system, renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, is stimulated by the low renal perfusion resulting from the stenotic lesions in the arteries supplying to the kidneys. Angiotensin 2 is produced, which causes the renal vasoconstriction, and in part through the increased efferent arterial stone. This creates a back pressure which paradoxically maintains the glomerular filtration pressure in an otherwise poorly perfused kidney. Since the increased efferent vascular tone maintains the filtration in such patient, then the overall result of the ACE inhibitor or the ARB therapy will be to reduce or shut down the filtration at the glomerulus and put the patient at the risk of the prerenal AKI. My second question is what appropriate therapy would be given. In the inappropriate use of an ACE inhibitor should be stopped, and should as the diuretic should also be stopped temporarily as she is having the hypovolemia, and Mrs. J should be rehydrated using the sodium chloride 0.9% drip, and the kidney function markers would be observed or monitored in the hope that the recovery will occur. Investigation should be arranged to determine whether Mrs. J has renal artery stenosis as the cause of her AKI after initiation of the ACE inhibitor. Note that the renal artery stenosis is the narrowing of one or more arteries that carry the blood to the kidney, and narrowing of the arteries prevent the normal amount of oxygen-rich blood from reaching the kidneys. And kidney needs adequate blood flow, as we all know that, to help the filtration of the waste products and removal of the excess fluids. This is all about the acute renal failure, and I will discuss the next case in my second video. Thank you so much.